Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the uncommon electric poison-type Pokemon Toxel, the Baby Pokémon, and its rare evolution Toxtricity, the Punk Pokémon. While they might not come off as much of a problem at a young age, the members of the Toxel family are unique creatures that can more than prove to be an electrifying hassle as adults.
Toxel have purple-scaled bodies with 4 two-toed feet with flat toes, dark purple scales covering most of their frame aside from the lower torso and tail, which are a lighter color. They possess large purple eyes with light purple circular cheek markings, as well as a pair of spots on the back of their neck, a bolt-like extension of energy on their forehead, 4 thick spines on the edges of their skull, and a small purple tongue that is constantly present outside their mouths. The evolved form, Toxtricity, are bipedal creatures with 3 flat toes per foot and 3 fingers per hand, with a humanoid shape to them, semi-striped legs, and light purple barbs surrounding their wrists with more on their shoulders, back, and a belt-like set of spines and thick scales at the waist and hips. They have a pair of large horn-like extensions at the sides of their head, with another pair surrounding the mohawk of hair that lies on their head, with their hair, palm, soles, leg, and back markings, lower jaw and chest being yellow in color in their amped form and blue in their low-key form, further differentiated in that their amped form variants have only a single mane of hair, while low-key variants have 2. It is further noted that Toxtricity have access to a Gigantamax form, and in this state, these creatures grow immensely in size and are forced on all fours in their transformation, developing a pair of Tesla coil-like growths at the base of their torso as blue and yellow hair mixes together on their mane and eyes, and they develop a tail-like growth that is actually a guitar-like bolt of electricity infused with their toxins. Much like Magby, Smoochum, and Elekid, Toxel are considered to be baby Pokemon even though they evolve through experience like most Pokemon, and can eventually grow up to be quite powerful, but in their current evolutionary state, they are quite weak and unable to do much with their stats or their moves, as they only ever have access to 6 different moves, only half of which are directly connected to their type assignment.
On one hand, they do have access to Growl, Tearful Look, and Flail moves as part of their young nature, and while Flail can be potentially quite powerful, these creatures don't really have very strong physical offenses, and thus cannot use the attack very well. On the other hand though, the other moves they actually get do make good use of their natural powers.
It is important to first note that these creatures are poison types, and like many poison-type Pokemon, they have an internal poison sac in their body that is used specifically for the generation of toxins, which they typically release through the pores in their skin. The poison itself is not that strong, but any direct contact made with their body can produce a tingling sensation in humans, and has the effect of making Toxel taste really bad as a deterrent against predators. In battle, this means they can utilize a weak acid attack and even a devastating belch attack with a bit of artificial help, but they cannot really use their poisons in any other direct way, limiting them to using them mainly for defensive purposes in the wild.
In contrast, their evolved form Toxtricity are dangerous threats that can more than use intimidation and sound to make themselves dangerous contenders to have to face in any conflict.
They do this by creating an electric potential difference in their forms that can then be used to generate a voltage, but they are much stronger than what Toxel can generate, able to produce up to 15,000 volts of electricity from their forms. What makes this interesting is how they actually go about doing this physically. Toxtricity have a series of growths on their chests that act as the location where the poison sacs and electrical organs are located. When these creatures use their claws to pluck and strum these growths, they produce a vibrant sound that not only sounds powerful, but, more importantly, mixes their internal poisons to create the differential needed for them to produce electricity. This change in power is reflected in their abilities, as on the one front, Toxel can only produce a weak enough charge to give their bodies a static shield and are easily scared, so they have access to static and rattled as base abilities, while those with coordination issues from birth can also have Klutz as a hidden ability. On the opposite end though, Toxtricity can produce enough of a charge to give their forms a notable charge, and in some cases can tap into the child form's nature mentally, giving them access to plus or minus as base abilities, depending on their form, and Technician as a hidden ability, but they are also known for having access to the signature Punk Rock ability, which allows them to use their capacity to generate sound to the utmost, boosting the damage their sound-based attacks deal by 30%, and reducing the damage they take from other sound-based moves by 50%. As far as the stats go in the case of Toxtricity, they do not have the sturdiest or most agile of forms, and cannot always last that long in a fight, but they are able to use their bodies as decently potent weapons in a fight, both up close and afar. So while most of the base stats are below average for a fully evolved poison and electric type Pokemon, their base attack and special attack stats are above average, allowing them to make the most of what offense they can get access to.
While Toxel can get access to some weak poison-type offense as infants, this is not the only trick they can pull to make themselves into a bit of a hazard to be near at a young age.
Unlike any other type of poison-type Pokemon, not counting the evolved form, these creatures are able to alter the chemical makeup of their internal poisons to generate an ionic solution that has a different electric potential than the surrounding tissue and, using this, can generate an electric current in their forms. Now, at their young age, these beasts cannot do much with this power because the voltage is weak, leaving them with little more than a nuzzle attack to work with for electric-type offense. Even so, the voltage is enough to inflict a tingling paralysis on those that dare to come into contact with them when they are electrified. This helps to make these little tykes a bit more to handle than they might otherwise appear, but this is again mainly used for defense over offense in the wild. The combination of this and the poisons makes these creatures seemingly tough to handle, but in truth they're actually kind little creatures that share many behavioral traits with human babies, and thus can be cared for similarly, or at least long enough for them to evolve and reach a much more mature adult stage of development. Though the final form that they take is noted to be different depending on their nature, so special attention needs to be paid towards their nature if one is looking to evolve them into a specific form of their evolution, Toxtricity.
As noted, Toxtricity can come in two different forms that affects the kind of sounds they can make and even the moves they can learn.
Both forms of Toxtricity get access to the Spark attack immediately after evolving, and can eventually learn to use their electrical and sound-based powers to learn the potent Overdrive attack later in life, a sound-based electric-type attack that can hit multiple nearby foes. But if they have a hardy, brave, adamant, naughty, docile, impish, lax, hasty, jolly, naive, rash, sassy, or quirky nature, they will evolve from Toxel into the amped form and become capable of producing sounds like a high-pitched electric guitar, eventually gaining access to the Venoshock and Shift Gear moves. If they have a lonely, bold, relaxed, timid, serious, modest, mild, quiet, bashful, calm, gentle, or careful nature, however, they will evolve from Toxel into the low-key form, which produce low-pitched sounds like a bass guitar, eventually gaining access to the Venom Drench and Magnetic Flux moves.
As such, it is important for trainers to pay attention to the nature of the Toxel they have before they evolve it, as it can have a dramatic effect on what form of Toxtricity it becomes.
While they might be nice to listen to, however, Toxtricity make it very clear that they are not the friendly type, as they tend to be very condescending towards others and look down on everyone they fight against, always believing themselves to be better than others in their craft and really just in general. These beasts enjoy chugging stagnant water just to acquire as many toxins as possible to add to whatever they can produce naturally, their cells being able to copy and replicate most toxins that they ingest, but this tends to make it hard for them to stay calm, as the toxins do still have a minor effect on their forms, especially the central nervous system, overloading their adrenal gland and rendering them fairly short-tempered and aggressive towards all others. This can be used to one's advantage though, as their bodies can actually be altered at their discretion thanks to their advanced control over electricity, to the point where they can actually alter the rhythm of their own heartbeat in order to pump in rhythm with the strumming of their chest growths, aptly demonstrated through the signature punk rock ability. This, combined with their overdrive and boom burst attacks, serves to make these reptiles considerable threats and definitely not creatures worth messing around with if you know what's good for you.
Lastly, it is noted that Toxtricity is one of only a limited number of Pokemon capable of undergoing the process of Gigantamaxing, with specific members of the species taking on a unique form when they are Dynamaxed in battle.
In this form, these creatures utilize the excess electricity coursing through and around their bodies as their weapon, being able to build up more electricity than any thundercloud. However, they tend to go out of control very easily as their poisons have finally penetrated their brain, tearing across the landscape in wild rampages, where they end up contaminating the earth around them with a toxic spread that constantly leaks from their bodies. While this might only be a temporary state for them, the immense power that runs through them while in this state allows Toxtricity to utilize a unique G-Max move known as G-Max Stun Shock, which takes the standard Max Lightning attack and energizes the projectiles using the attack with their excess electrical energy and toxins to paralyze or poison their opponents, allowing these monsters as a whole to use their unique guitar-shaped lightning weapon and Dynamax power to the fullest to keep the opposition under threat of being partially incapacitated or in danger of succumbing to poison in a fight.
These critters can certainly be quite adorable at a young age, and certainly make for some of the cutest baby Pokemon out there, so long as you don't mind their odd appearances and scaly forms. It's honestly quite shocking, pun not intended, that they behave so much like human babies when they're young, and it really makes raising them fairly easy, and even good practice for anyone that wishes to have a family of their own someday. However, when they finally manage to evolve, they can be serious threats to work with because of their gratitudes and powers. The combination of poison and electricity works surprisingly well for them and makes them a noble threat even against many steel-type Pokemon that might otherwise be immune to their toxic properties. And the unique overdrive attack really brings this out, especially combined with the power boost it could receive from their Punk Rock ability. Sadly though, the type of experience you have with them can differ quite a bit depending on their form. As while they tend to be rather boisterous and an irritation to others in their ant form, low-key Toxtricity usually do not like to start pointless fights and are a bit calmer in general, though just a bit. Either way, these reptiles can prove to be decent fighters to contend with, and with a Gigantamax form on their side as well, you can be sure that they'll give it their all to be true showstoppers in any fight they get involved in.
Though it may take a while for these creatures to reach an adult state, the members of the Toxel family are powerful reptiles that can make good use of poison and electricity to inflict nasty damage and status conditions onto anything that isn't immune to the best offenses. The change that occurs in their personality can make them a bit much to handle to those who are unprepared, but it can still be worth it if their best offensive and bodily attributes can be put into play.
Just do yourself a favor and, if you feel like having a jam session with them, let them lead the way and complement whatever they put out. Otherwise, you may be at the wrath of their judgment, and if you don't play well enough, they may give you a wicked time by dazzling your ears and electrifying your entire body with a solo of their own.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is always a pleasure to help teach others about the world of Pokemon and the many facets of it that exist in both the world we call home and the world they call home. If you'd like, please leave a comment and subscribe and ring the bell to this channel to get regular updates on content and anything else that might be going on. You can find me and my written work on DeviantArt under the name Untitled, and be informed of information and content uploads on my Twitter page and my Patreon page. Donations are always welcome. Always remember, the world of Pokemon is a vast and varied place, and there's no telling what secrets might be hiding just around the corner. So keep watch, stay vigilant, and always prepare for the unexpected. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.